The moment the security badge beeped red and the glass doors locked behind her, Elena Vasquez knew the empire she'd built was about to crumble, not with a bang, but with the quiet click of a failed encryption handshake. She stood there in the sleek lobby of Apex FinServe, the San Francisco fintech giant she'd kept afloat for 9 years, her reflection staring back from the polished marble floor. No outburst. No tears. Just a calm exhale as she handed over the badge to the HR drone who couldn't meet her eyes. "Tell Marcus not to forget the root keys," she said softly, her voice like a whisper in a storm. The guard shifted uncomfortably, but Elena was already turning away, the weight of what was coming settling like fog over the bay. It had started 6 weeks earlier, when Marcus Hale swept into the executive suite like a Silicon Valley messiah, fresh from his stint at a flashy app startup that peddled viral memes and monetized user data. He smelled of expensive cologne and unchecked ambition, redecorating his corner office with ergonomic gadgets and abstract art that screamed disruptor. Elena, the head of cybersecurity compliance, watched from her modest cubicle farm on the 3rd floor, where the real work happened, the invisible fortress of firewalls, encryption protocols, and regulatory audits that kept Apex's $450 million operation compliant with federal banking laws. She didn't make waves. She prevented tsunamis. But Marcus? He saw her department as legacy drag, a relic from the days when fintech meant more than hype cycles and investor decks. In that first all-hands meeting, Marcus paced the stage in his untucked shirt, projecting slides with buzzwords like agile pivot and decentralized silos. The room buzzed with forced enthusiasm, but Elena felt a knot tighten in her stomach. "We're streamlining ops," he declared, his eyes scanning the crowd like he was pitching to VCs. "No more bottlenecks. Compliance will integrate into every team, empowerment through ownership." The applause was deafening, but Elena sat still, her mind racing through the implications. Decentralize? In a world where one misplaced key could expose client data to hackers or trigger SEC fines. She'd spent years architecting the system, a centralized root certificate authority tied to her credentials, mandated by law for all digital signatures on financial transactions. It wasn't ego, it was ironclad protocol. You didn't hand out master keys like candy at a parade. The changes came fast. A whirlwind of reorgs and innovation sprints. Marcus renamed her team Risk Velocity Unit, as if rebranding could rewrite code. He reassigned her analysts to cross-functional pods, ignoring her memos about chain of custody risks. One afternoon, he cornered her in the break room, coffee in hand, smirking like he'd cracked the code to eternal growth. "Elena, love the diligence, but we're moving to a cloud-based suite by quarter's end. Your cert setup?
It's quaint.
We'll migrate seamlessly." She paused, stirring her tea slowly, letting the silence build. "Seamless? Without dual auth reassignment. You'll break the validation chain. Every wire transfer, every audit log, poof." He laughed it off, clapping her shoulder. "Details? Elena, we rebuild better. Names fade, systems evolve." She nodded, but inside, the dials were turning. She ran a quiet diagnostic that night, logging every unauthorized tweak. The system was already whispering warnings, yellow alerts flickering like distant lightning. As the weeks dragged on, the pressure mounted. Marcus's velocity meant cutting corners Elena had fortified. He pushed for a new encryption vendor without her sign-off, overriding her veto in a late-night email chain. "Let's not get mired in red tape," he wrote. But red tape was the only thing keeping them from federal scrutiny. Elena felt the isolation creep in, colleagues avoiding her gaze, whispers in hallways about the old guard. She documented it all, not out of spite, but habit. 9 years of dodging audits had taught her. Paper trails were armor. Still, the emotional toll simmered, a quiet rage at being dismissed. A woman who'd clawed her way from a community college coding class to safeguarding billions in assets, now treated like obsolete software. Then came the Tuesday ambush. In a sterile conference room overlooking the Golden Gate, Marcus unveiled his master plan, a neon flowchart of future state security. Arrows darted everywhere. No anchors in sight. "We'll distribute cert access," he beamed. Elena interjected calmly, her voice steady amid the nodding heads. "Distribute? The route is federally registered to me. Revoke without protocol. And you lock out the entire ecosystem, partners, regulators, the works." He leaned back, arms crossed. "We'll handle it." Honestly, Elena, no one remembers who coded the original firewall. Progress marches on. The room went still. A collective breath held. She didn't argue. She absorbed it, the dismissal like a slow poison. Back at her desk, she archived the logs, her fingers flying over keys that held more power than Marcus could fathom. The storm was building, and she was the eye. By Friday, the axe fell. Escorted to HR, Elena listened to the scripted spiel. Role redundancy. Strategic shift. No severance negotiation. Just a box for her things. As security walked her out, she glanced at the humming servers in the data center visible through glass walls. They pulsed with her architecture, her safeguards. Marcus hadn't shown up. Too busy. Perhaps celebrating his lean team. But Elena? She drove home in silence. The city lights blurring, a mix of vindication and sorrow washing over her. She'd warned them.
Now.
The unraveling would begin. Not with fireworks, but with a soft ping of failed authentications echoing through empty corridors. The first crack appeared at 10:47 a.m. The next Monday, an innocuous error in the transaction dashboard. Signature validation failed. Apex's wire transfer portal, handling millions daily, stuttered. IT dismissed it as a glitch, rebooting servers like flipping a light switch. But Elena, sipping coffee in her small home office across the bay in Oakland, knew better. She designed the system to fail safe, without her root keys dual sign-off. Every digital handshake would time out. A domino chain reaction baked into the code for precisely this scenario. It wasn't malice, it was foresight, born from watching competitors implode under lax security. Inside Apex, panic simmered low at first. Marcus was in an investor call, touting streamlined ops when the alerts escalated. By noon, vendor portals lit up red. Partners like major banks couldn't authenticate contracts. A key insurer emailed, compliance chain broken, holding reimbursements per Clause 8b. Marcus waved it off in the war room, surrounded by frazzled admins. "Reroute through the new suite," he barked. But the new suite? Still in beta. Unintegrated. A shiny toy without the federal stamp. Legal hovered. Faces pale. "We need the route reassigned," the GC muttered. Marcus scoffed. "It's just paperwork. Push the migration." But paperwork was the fortress. Ignore it. And the walls crumbled. As the afternoon dragged, the emotional undercurrent surfaced. Junior staff whispered about Elena, she warned us. Marcus's charisma cracked, his voice sharpening in huddles. He paced, phone in hand, dialing consultants who'd promised seamless transitions. None answered fast enough. Meanwhile, Elena fielded a call from an old contact at a rival firm, Vanguard Tech, a scrappy startup in Austin hungry for Apex's market share. "Heard about the shakeup," the COO said cautiously. "Interested in consulting?" She paused, letting the silence stretch, feeling the shift in power. "Send the NDA," she replied evenly. By evening, She'd signed on as Vanguard's compliance architect, her expertise now a weapon aimed at Apex's vulnerabilities.
Tuesday brought the deluge.
Federal alerts pinged, SEC watch list activated due to unresolved attestation failures. Apex's stock dipped 3%, whispers turning to headlines in niche fintech blogs. Marcus's inbox flooded, board members demanding updates, vendors threatening pauses. In a closed-door meeting, he faced the exec team, sweat beading despite the AC. "We fired her too soon," someone ventured. Marcus slammed a fist. "She was holding us back. We'll rebuild." But rebuild what? The root key wasn't on a server. It was hardware tied to Elena's custody. A legal mandate she'd insisted on after a 2018 breach scare. Without her notarized consent, they were locked out. Their empire a digital ghost town. Elena's days filled with quiet purpose. She rebuilt Vanguard systems from scratch, cleaner, faster, with redundancies Apex lacked. Calls came in, former colleagues, voices hushed. "It's chaos here." She listened, empathy mixing with resolve. The dismissal had stung. A reminder of how invisible labor gets erased by ego.
But now,
as Apex floundered, she felt the dials turning faster, the pressure building toward release. By Wednesday, the vendors bolted. A major payment processor froze integrations, non-compliant signatures void agreements. Losses mounted, $2.1 million installed wires alone. Marcus's velocity had become paralysis. Legal dug through archives, unearthing Elena's original memo. Root authority remains with architect unless dual notarized transfer. No one had followed through. Why bother when she was reliable? The board convened virtually. Tones icy. "Fix this, Marcus, or you're out." He tried bluffing regulators. Temporary migration. They weren't fooled. Audits loomed. A specter of fines and scrutiny. Elena watched from afar. Her new registry update going live. Vanguard Tech, compliance lead, Elena Vasquez. It was a beacon, drawing Apex's partners like moths. One forwarded her an Apex plea. System restored soon. She smiled faintly, the lie exposed. The emotional weight lifted slightly. This wasn't revenge, but justice. A testament to undervalued expertise. As night fell, Apex's lights burned late. Desperation thick in the air. While Elena slept soundly, the storm she'd foreseen now raging unchecked. Thursday's dawn broke with federal agents at Apex's doors. Not a raid, but close enough. Suits with badges, clipboards in hand, requesting immediate access to cert logs. Marcus met them in the lobby. "Ty Askew." His usual swagger evaporated. "We've got this under control," he stammered. The lead auditor raised an eyebrow. "Your portals are dark. Explain the root lapse." Silence descended, heavy as lead. The team scrambled. But logs pointed back to Elena, her name etched in every failed transaction like a ghost in the machine. Board whispers turned to demands. "Get her back," the chairman growled in a sidebar call. Marcus resisted. Ego bruised. But reality bit hard. Legal drafted outreach. Urgent reassignment request. Elena received it at lunch. Scanning the polite desperation, she forwarded to her attorney, who'd prepped contingencies months ago. "Decline," she instructed. The response was swift. No authorization granted. Attempts to bypass violate protocol. Apex reeled. Systems frozen. Partners fleeing. A key bank migrated to Vanguard overnight, citing stability concerns. Elena's world accelerated at Vanguard. She onboard vendors Apex had snubbed, her systems humming with efficiency. Calls from insiders painted the picture. Marcus isolated. Staff resigning. Morale shattered. She felt a pang, colleagues caught in crossfire, but the mouth-wan ran deep. Society's blind spot for quiet guardians, erased by flashy leaders. As alerts piled, Apex's stock plummeted 7%. Investors pulling plugs. Friday's escalation, a leak hit Forbes. Fintech giant's compliance meltdown. Details anonymous, but damning. Marcus faced the board in person. Room tense. "We underestimated her," he admitted. Voice cracking. Too late. Resignations flowed. His own followed. A mutual parting press release masking the fall. Elena heard via text. He's gone. No glee. Just reflection. The human cost of arrogance. The fragility of unchecked power. Weekend quiet allowed buildup. Apex limped. Manual processes grinding slow. Elena refined Vanguard's edge. Her name now synonymous with reliability. Partners aligned. Revenues shifting. The emotional crescendo hit. Validation after dismissal. A quiet triumph over systemic oversight. Monday reopened wounds. Auditors embedded. Dissecting logs. Fines looming at $5 million minimum. Apex's new interim lead begged Elena. Name your terms. She met them in a neutral cafe. Composed. Too late, she said softly. I've moved on. The plea hung. But she walked away. The power imbalance reversed. Vanguard thrived. Stock rising as Apex's fell. Tuesdays brought more defections. Vendors emailed Elena directly. Migrating to you. Apex's empire shrank. Credibility in tatters. Legal settlements drained coffers. Class actions brewed. Marcus surfaced on LinkedIn. Seeking opportunities. A shadow of his former self. Elena's routine stabilized. But echoes lingered. Late nights. She pondered the mouth wan. How systems built by the overlooked become weapons when ignored. Society's drama in microcosm. Power. Dismissal. Reckoning. By midweek, Apex filed for restructuring. Assets hemorrhaging. Vanguard acquired pieces. Elena at the helm. The transition was poetic. Her architecture absorbing the remnants. Thursday's board dissolution sealed it. Former execs scattered. Lessons unlearned by some. Elena addressed her new team. Build with care, names matter. The room nodded, aware of the ghost story behind her words. In the quiet aftermath, as Apex's signage came down from its once gleaming tower, Elena stood on Vanguard's rooftop deck, the Austin skylines stretching infinite. The empire she'd toppled wasn't just corporate, it was a mindset. The casual erasure of essential voices. Marcus? Rumors placed him at a small consultancy. Humbled. Perhaps wiser. But Elena didn't dwell. She built forward. Her systems now industry gold standard. Yet the do-em lingered. A haunting question in a world racing toward disruption. Who pays when the guardians are forgotten? Do we value the invisible threads holding society together? Or chase velocity until it unravels us all? Elena knew the answer. Etched in code and consequence. A whisper carried on the wind. Remember the keys? Or lose everything.